Got it. All right. We're doing this thing. Whoa. It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. We have another guest host known on the chat as MIDAS100. I've gotten to know personally as Antonio. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, doing good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know, it's life on life's terms, man.
Hey, that's it, right?
Yeah, it's it can be tricky sometimes. So a little bit of background is I was heading up to San Francisco to cover the protest with even forget the kid's name, and he disappeared. We can get into
really?
that, but I was heading up to the band. I did a live stream leaving, and Antonio reached out to me in the middle of my drive and said, "Hey, if you're passing by, I'm here in the South Bay, up in the Bay Area." And we stopped and we hung out for like an hour and a half, had a fantastic conversation there on the levee, and
kicked back the seltzer water.
Yeah, drank some seltzer water and hung out and got to know each other. So for all of you out there, it is that easy. Just reach out. So yeah, so let's get how so how long you been on the channel? You've been around for a while.
Years, you know, at least I think 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. I haven't counted, but it's been a while. You know,
awesome, dude. So yeah. I'm stoked you could come on, because I think this getting to know each other versus just names in the chat's been a really good vibe for all of us.
Yes, yeah, definitely. You know, you always come with good content, and you know, you just, yeah, your motivation, man. You know, put on the Hamish when you need to get your head right. You know what I mean? So
we're trying. Well, that was what was interesting with our conversation, is you were dumping a bunch of data my direction, back into my reality.
I remember this was pre-election. This was before, you know, we were waiting on the Trump thing, and we were just like, remember I was saying though, I was like, dude, he's a Trojan horse, man. I knew it.
Oh yeah,
knew it.
Yeah, he really showed his hand, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Well, you know, here we are, it's a year later. So I think I must have been heading up to San Francisco September-ish.
Okay.
So a little over a year. And it was Philip King. I think the kid's name was Philip King. I wonder what happened to that guy. He got socked up with that thing and disappeared.
That was it, huh? That closed the show.
that closed the show for him, man.
Dang.
Yeah, because he seemed to have had
yeah, you're catching some heat out there, man. I was worried for you, brother. I was sending up prayers, man. I was like, so I remember they're, you know, when you're talking to I think the cops up there, and then there's that guy came out of nowhere, started a bunch of riffraff.
If it wasn't for the cops, I'd beat the two of you up. I'm like, don't.
Like, all right, dude.
That was one of those classic moments of don't stare at him and don't flinch. let him burn himself out.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's interesting how things are developing in a positive way, because I think ultimately when we were sitting up there talking, it was pre-election. The riots were still pretty hot in everybody's mind. There was a lot of chaos going on, and
future was looking rocky.
Yeah, future's still looking rocky, but we're looking bright.
We're looking positive. No, I'm saying back then, like we were like, we didn't know what was gonna happen. You know, we were like, okay.
It's at least the die's been cast, right? I guess
things are kind of, you know, simmered down. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, obviously, you know, who knows what's to come, but for now, you know, for now.
So you're in the Bay Area, South Bay. What's going on up there?
Well, you know, it's you know, Gruesome Newsom's always. Well, I haven't heard from him for a minute, so I don't know what he's all about. Because
he's been down in Cabo at $29,000.
Right, living it up. Right, spending what, $200 million? No, he would. How much was his vacation that they said? It was crazy.
Big bucks, but he's staying with some Russian oligarch, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, of course.
Well, he didn't pay taxes on his mansion, so he's always sliding through the cracks with everything,
He's a professional.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, come on, that hair doesn't stay slicked back without a lot of grease, man.
No, definitely. I think he's still trying to get that GQ cover. You know what I mean? The way he's moving.
Dude, gruesome news.
Are you familiar with the Deagle report?
The what?
The Deagle report?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard about that, man, and it's pretty wild, dude. It's like I guess it's like an online source for military capabilities. It analyzes countries by projected population, GDP, defense budget, and more. And they said by 2025, like major depopulation. I don't mean to jump straight into it, but I was like, man, I got notes and stuff.
You got, dude. So if you got notes and stuff and screens you want to share on the whole thing, please don't hesitate to use the controls on your end. So, so the co-host gig is what do you got? And I just want to preempt before you get going. For those of you who are watching, Jordan Richter and I, we do our skate tricks on Sunday night. We got our first guest coming on. Josh Harmony, the skater, stood up, did a protest in front of the Vans corporate headquarters, and he's a Vans team rider about the mandates. So we got him coming on tomorrow night. So that should be an interesting riding the skate tricks for everyone out there. But now my ads are over. Now it's your show, brother.
Oh no, it's yours. But I mean, so this Deagle report is pretty interesting, and I just watched They Live like yesterday. I've seen it before, but I was showing my girl, and we put it on, and it's got a lot of They Lives. They say it's a documentary, so I was really feeling that. You know what I mean?
John Carpenter, right?
And what's weird is like I don't understand why he would put all that out there, because I'm sure he's part of the agenda. You know what I mean? I can't see him being like some lone wolf, like trying to put out information. Maybe they do, but they say that's part of like the like, the Satanists or whatever. They have to put that stuff out there in front of you. It's part of like letting you know, maybe subconsciously. I don't know how it works.
I think it's like the spiritual cosmic contract. In order to play right, if God's infinitely
like the universal laws, if they let you know, then it's not really,
it's not on them, right? They don't have to face the penalty in their kind of concept of it all. Is like, no, we like told you what we were up to, man. And you guys didn't pay attention because you wanted to listen to some a-holes and you wanted to be peer pressure, cracked your code. So enjoy the ride.
Yeah. But it's interesting that the Deagle report.
How do you spell that? How do you spell that?
Deagle, like Deagle, like beagle, but with the D.
Okay, Deagle
report. Yeah, check it out, man. It's really interesting, and it's funny because They Live, when they're having the meeting, they say 2025 is when they're basically going to finish with their projected agenda, and Deagle report says that's when they say mass depopulation. They say like, what is it, 225 million lost just in the U.S. Obviously war, collapse of the West, so I mean it's a lot of stuff that they project. I guess they take a lot of different statistics and they put it in some sort of formula, and they come out with these projections. But it's wild.
Yeah, there seems to be a sort of level of it. I mean, that's like what we were talking about when we hung out that night. Is
right.
There's a certain amount of like obviousness to all this. That's why it's funny when I hit onto the truther things like yesterday's. It's the obviousers now. It's pretty easy to extrapolate out what kind of the potential of where this goes. I don't want to say exactly where it goes, but I
don't want to sound super negative. I'm an optimist, but it's better to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. You know what I mean? So It's like that's the mentality. But yeah, the way things are going, I'm just not. I'm actually surprised we made it so far through winter. I thought they were going to start buckling down a little sooner.
I have to say, I'm surprised we've made it this far in general.
In general, right. Poor Australia. You know what I mean? I know you're like, you don't have a lot of sympathy because of, they kind of like gave away a lot of their, but I just look at them like, man, freaking Australia, dude. And, to see that, I feel like that's testing ground, I don't know. I think
that's what was interesting about the statement coming out of the Aboriginals up there. Were like, no, we are the testing ground. Like, this is, take warning. This is what's going on. And, this is our dharma almost. Like, it's what we have to do but we're getting the signal out. Yeah. The Australia thing's beyond interesting. Like, there has been like an interesting pushback down in Melbourne and stuff, but like just the general, like I follow like on like the surfing perspective of it all. Like I follow a lot of like random things and they're just super not concerned. Like, and it's very drunken. Like, I think they're like it's one of those weird societies that they just intuitively don't. I mean, you look at like of course they would be the one where you would establish the prison camps, right? Because they're like
the resorts. No,
the health resorts,
health clinics. Whatever.
I find that it fascinating where things are going on, and to me that's almost signifies like more obviousness, right?
Yeah.
Of course, Austria and Germany would be the ones to be like, no, but you must do this by the first, or else you're excommunicated from society.
Yeah, when they said Germany, I was like, geez, man, they can't clean their slate. It's always something with that Germany, huh?
We really can't. But I thought it was. Did you catch the speech from the president of South Africa?
No, I didn't.
He was like, we will absolutely not be doing any mandates, any harassment.
Oh, I think I did hear that. Yeah, I did.
Pretty short little speech, but it's funny because there's just sort of the flip side of it. Like, of course, that would be they know all too well what it looks like.
Yeah.
Genocides
and all that stuff they had to deal with down there.
Well, just, it's funny because you can say what you want about the ANC and what's going on down there with the farmers and all that stuff. But the people running the show theoretically are the people that were the victims of apartheid, right? So they would have a conscious understanding, whereas the people running these other places are the same people, so to speak. I mean, it would be. I think the situation in Germany and Austria would be way different if the survivors of the numbers were running the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
But maybe not, because they're all down in Israel doing what their craziness is. I don't know, dude.
Damn circus, man.
It is the ultimate like circus of just
of humanity.
Yeah, it's us doing our.
And then they saw what everybody was made of, and I guess it wasn't much. You know what I mean? When it hit the fan, everybody was just like, okay.
I'm still baffled at just how easy everyone just rolled over to this thing.
Yeah, it's not what I expected. I thought you'd have a lot more. Majority of people just kind of like, it's psychological, man. It's psychological warfare, man. It's breaking down the mind and the will and things like that. And it's not, but we've been so softened up and conditioned by media. Actually, I mean, it's like a mass hypnosis through the TV. I've been actually studying a lot about frequencies.
Okay.
High frequency tribe. The pineal gland has crystals in it, right? The brain has crystals. Let me see.
Hit us with it.
Brother. All right, let's see. So it's interesting, crystals are in like a lot of technology, right? They're in computers, radios, TVs, and the brain itself contains 7 billion particles of magnetite. It's a permanently magnetic form of iron oxide, right? So the brain is like a giant crystal, receiver, you know what I mean? And in fact, crystal information stores data, is supposed to be one of the highest, how would you say it? Holographic data storage. It's the most highest capacity is crystal data storage.
Sure.
So your brain is like a crystal, you know what I mean? And crystals are also the electronics, you know, so it resonates with these frequencies, you know, all this EM electromagnetic, you know, all that.
The EMF, yeah.
Right, all that stuff that flows, you know, we don't realize that we're constantly bombarded by these frequencies, you know, and it's pretty, you know, serious stuff because, you know, and then the pineal gland has crystals in it too. The pineal gland has, let's see, wrote it down somewhere. Okay, so the pineal gland is microcrystals of calcium, several types of well-defined morphologies, so different like shapes and stuff that it comes in. It's a piezoelectric, basically has a perfect balance. Stress applied, it produces electricity. You know, melatonin secretions come from the pineal gland, and it's affected by EMF. They've tested it.
Sure.
It's affected by EMF frequencies and stuff. So, I mean, we all know about the towers. I don't got to say the number and the letter. I mean, those towers they have. I'm trying to be safe on your channel.
Sure,
but,
sure.
You know, those definitely affect the brainwave frequencies. And then on top of the technology, everybody's voluntarily putting inside them. Again, I don't have to go into detail. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. With all that technology, and then, you know, silica's in a lot of food, right? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Silica, silicone, you need that for microchips, you know what I mean? So yeah. if we already have the crystals in our body for like the computer aspect of things, right? Once you start incorporating all this foreign technology, you know, I really think, and, you know, like Mr. Patch, you know, talks about, is that it's really going to bring people, because you already see it. Like I see a lot of delayed reactions when I'm dealing with people who I mean, I don't know if they've taken, but I feel like they have. And when I'm talking to them, it's like, and I'm not saying I'm not the most, you know, profound, sharpest guy on the planet, but, you know, I can definitely see it when I'm dealing with people that like, there seems to be a disconnect. I don't know if you see it, you know, in traffic, people are stuck at lights. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, you know, the reaction time seems to be off. Everybody seems to be a little bit, it's subtle, but it's noticeable.
No, I've noticed that too. Is there's definitely there's definitely it makes total sense. I mean, right? Like if the way electromagnetic energy works, whatever kind of waveform it is, it does different things based upon what the medium it's going through. Like it's you look at the fifth generation of it, right? Like one of the things is because the waves are so short that it can't penetrate around trees and stuff, and it can't do the thing that like the higher wavelengths can. If I always forget which way it goes, but I'm pretty sure the higher the with what they're doing with the technologies is they're getting smaller, which means they can't penetrate around stuff. So that's why they got to put them so localized, because the trees will block them and the houses will block them.
Right.
And so you take that to the human body, right? And
that's why we have rubber shoes, because we're not grounded. So all the, you know, the positive and negative ions that, you know, we're supposed to have the negative ions to balance out the positive, you know, so we're overwhelmed by all these, you know, we're overloaded with positive ions that causes inflammation, pain, headaches, things like that, you know, because we're not even grounded to the earth. You know, so
have you seen the talk with the guy? There was a guy, I don't know if it's a little bit older or what. I saw this talk and it's pretty short, and it's this guy basically going, the most dangerous thing that ever happened to humanity was the sneaker. And that there was the rubberized, the Vulcan rubber soles put onto the shoes.
Separate you from the earth so you don't
separated us from the earth. And that's when like our connectivity broke.
And they changed the frequency, the hertz, right around the 50s.
Yeah. Well, the Hitler did that. The funny man, the guy with the funny mustache. So there's like a lot of stuff going on. And I think it's fascinating because where I go a little bit, where it makes total sense to me is like when you put anything in your body, whether it's rings on your body going, like you can't have any metal on you when you're, you know, when you go for a CAT scan and all that stuff, because It does various things, magnets and
It's technology, right?
Technology is going through your body. And so you imagine you put a molecular shape in there. Let's just say it's a shape, right? Like, because it has a shape. And that shape can do various things about how various things move through you. And I think that's where the time bomb lies. That's a little, I roll a little bit deeper of like, everyone's kind of off the track with why you don't want it to be all sauced up. And it's not the actual sauce interacting with your body, so to speak, on the first round, though. I think that's a big problem for the younger ones. But I think it's when they flip on the technology,
right,
that it's going, that's it. Look, they told us with the Kingsman and all these movies, they've laid it all out. I mean, that's where where you would go to where you started with the
crystals.
No, with the They Live in John Carpenter, right?
Okay.
Is you, and I've been talking about this around on this channel for years, is like, you have the Vatican is the hub of this sort of the spiritual manipulation. You have Washington, D.C. is the hub of the military manipulation. You have the city of London, which is the center of the financial manipulation. And then you go, well, Los Angeles is the hub of the media manipulation. And as a person who stays close to that zone, is all of those signals are no different than the interest-bearing currencies being generated in London, or the manipulation of the church out of the Vatican, or the manipulation of military conflict for corporate objectives coming out of the Pentagon. And I think we would just totally just turn a blind eye to the whole the movies and the television shows when you really like they are doing it, whether it's predictive programming. Because I also think there's a thing like, and we talked a lot about this on the one we met, is it the chicken or the egg? Like, were the movies launched to launch this, or were the movies launched to like reinforce it? I think that there was a certain level of like, they inserted it all in to sort of guide this on a level. Yeah, coinciding with the Bibles and the interest-bearing currencies and the dude who wrote the letters back in the 1800s, what's his face, and all the other stuff. I think they're like, well, we need to like start like laying the tracks for this early. So of course, like John Carpenter's like, okay, put that in there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the media has always been part of the like you said, one of the arms of the octopus. You know what I mean? That's something that they use to it's repetitive conditioning, the same message, like, they push fear, sex, hate, just separation, they push all that stuff in the movies and and it keeps us cerebral is one thing I've learned, because as long as they can keep you in the mind and disconnected from the heart, they've already kind of won, because the mind is, they want to keep in the reptilian mind, the primal, and that keeps you just, in your most basic form of functions. And that's what the media, the music in combination with the TV, the news, the movies, it's all connected. The message is all really the same. And it's a heart mind separation, keeps you in your mind, keeps you, away from compassion. That I think is the main key, like Christ, I'm about relationship. I'm not like a religious, but I'm all about relationship. And I talk to Christ every day, and he listens, like I just feel it, I can feel it in my spirit. I've seen it in my life, Christ is who he say he is, or who he says he is, I say. But no, so yeah, so I think that the media is definitely, doing a number on us. It's conditioning the mind. It's disrupting our harmony with the creator, you know, and the younger generation is sad to look at because, you know, it's just, they don't know much, you know, they don't, unless you're like you teach your son, you know, like the right way and you teach them the path. But a lot of people, you know, they're just left to, a lot of these kids are left to the, you know, the YouTube and the, you know, and the internet, and, you know, they don't want to go outside. They just want to sit indoors and, you know, learn from TikTok, you know.
I even battle that here. Like, we don't even do that. It's like, even like the Lego thing, it's like tough to get him out of the house with the, it's a very interesting, I think it is, it's very this whole thing's so complex because it's almost like it circles back on itself a lot, right? We're like, you know how like in the airplanes, right? When they make the airplanes, they have like what are called, you know, redundant like control systems. So if like the cable breaks on the thing, there's like another cable,
They'll say,
you know, and it seems like there's like a lot of redundant manipulation systems inserted in like a basic, like let's say a basic movie.
right.
Like if we go back, I like pulling the thread on this Carpenter thing for a minute, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't watched They Live in 20 years probably, right? Like I got the concept, but I'm curious now to go actually like study it a little deeper now that you brought.
Oh, it's like just everything. It's all right there.
Because that was so when I used to be way into like a movie buff guy, right? And we used to watch like. This was back when you would, you know, go to the movie rental store and get VHS tapes and, you know, the 90s and stuff.
Be Kind, Rewind.
Yeah. Be Kind, Rewind, dude. And we were always into the cult classics and all the obscure films that were getting made. And one of the things that we were super into, me and my buddy Alan, was we were always into watching the backgrounds. We would watch the movie, like we would do one of those, we would rent it and watch it like 15 times in a row, getting like stoned and doing our thing and then our first pass was just watch the movie. Mm-hmm. Second pass was always whatever you do, your job is not to watch the main characters. Watch everything going on besides the main characters. And there's like, that's when you find all this interesting stuff, right? And then where you got me tripping out a little bit is this thought that I had is like, so let's say John Carpenter's making They Live, right?
Right.
He's got a bunch of people around him in Hollywood. And let's say someone just happened to drop a book on a coffee table, or like just as a dude who like lives like this a little bit. Like things will just show up in your life and you'll be like, oh, that's interesting. How did they get it? It always seems, we always, I think, give it sort of this happenstance. Like, oh, it was left there. But I think there's a certain level of it all where people are like placing things in people's things, right? So, and what makes this ties into, we were watching Iron Man, the first Iron Man last night.
Okay.
And there's this weird thing where Pepper brings down a box and a cup of coffee to Tony while he's building his first Iron Man suit in the lab, right? He puts the wrapped box in it and it just sits there for a while and he circles back. And I was like, I had a whole thought process because I was watching the box. I was like, so interesting, this box, and it has his first heart in it, like the first little thing in it. And I go, there's a certain level where I think that a lot of these artists and people are having like surreptitious agents. You know how they got the thing with, what do they call it when they, gang stalking, right? Gang stalker.
Yeah.
What if it's gang stalking's again, just another one, like a magnification on a 1% concept. It's like, what if they're like literally dropping deliberate food crumbs into the redundancy of like creative people? So where a dude like John Carpenter's making They Live, they're like, okay, they get where they see this the screenplay and they're like, all right, he's got to do a bunch of edits on this thing.
Yeah, because if you, I don't mean to interrupt, but if he was going against the grain, they would have done him like Kubrick. You know what I mean? So I mean, you know, because Kubrick, I don't know, that whole Apollo 11, you know, Shining stuff.
But what if they? But that's where I think that, like, I think for me, like when I think about it a little bit, I go, I think we missed.
So you think somebody just like gave him some breadcrumbs and he just followed them and then
I think that's an inch, one of the potentials, but I also think there's a weird thing where we think that, all right, it's that thing of like the villains of the story, the whatever, right, interdimensional vampires, whatever you those guys,
right?
We think that they would shut someone down for doing like figuring it out. When I go, I would let them out. And the reason I'm saying this is we had a prime example of it just the other day. The biggest mistake Alec Baldwin ever made in his entire life was to do that interview the other day.
He's a schmuck.
Like the biggest idiot you've ever met, right?
Yeah.
Because he literally should have just let it lie. So you do something with like They Live. They're like, I'll let this guy make this movie. Whatever. He'll
Well, you know, you think with all that money, his lawyer would have advised against that, but obviously he's so in cahoots with the elites that it don't matter. I think he's bulletproof.
No, I think it's all the show. I think it's just to get us the thing. But again,
you see those crocodile tears? He's like, well, I was like, bro. I mean, come on, dude. Like he's an actor. You know what I mean? Like his acting wasn't even that good. Like you could see through his little fake. But it's. But
what I find fascinating is it's a lifetime ritual again.
Yeah.
It's the manipulation of the thing. So it almost goes back to the thing we're talking about with Carpenter and all these things that are going on. Like, well, why is this being flooded in? And I go, everyone wants to be, it's to cover something else. And I go, what if that's one of the things that the truther community continually short circuits themselves out? What if it's not what they're trying to distract us from? What if it's what they're trying to tell us subconsciously in our face? Instead of it being like, oh, this is all to distract you from Gislin, dude. And it's all to distract you from this. What if it's not a distraction and it's deliberately put in your face so you can just be, so you can be like, huh, oh, that's what they're trying to like. I don't think they're hiding it, but I think the one thing that they're not hiding it, and they've never been hiding it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, they put it in your face. They kind of dangle it in front of your face and let you know what they're doing. You know, they're kind of what they've always done. You know, I think that's what the movies. That's part of it's a ritual. You know, Hollywood. I mean, this is stuff you see on like, you know, this is like YouTube conspiracy 101, you know, when they say Hollywood is the wood they use in, you know, the Wiccans or the Druids or whatever to cast spells. And I think that, you know, that's all that is. It's spell casting. You know what I mean? It gets you, you know, condition.
Thing of how it comes and the dudes who built Hollywood land up and that they came from the East Coast and their whole tie-in with Edison and the whole thing is like, no, it's very much they deliberately came here to set up their spell casting hub. And so, no, I think that they're like, I think that's what ultimately we're sort of up against, you know, for people like us, right? Like, and I think that, you know, I've been trying to get on that thing too, is like, there's no need to dig on any of it anymore. Like the digging's pointless. It's actually to just pull the jujitsu move on it or the taekwondo move where we're just trying to get the information so we can just use its momentum to pass us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't like new movies are trash anyways. I don't really watch any of the new movies. I like the old ones were all right. There's some good classics, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I mean, movies are just, and I'm not a big, like, you know, I was when I was younger, a big movie guy. And now these days I'm like, you know, well, I'll throw like an old school movie on every once in a while, but I don't follow really any of the new ones. There's a few crazy ones like The Road. You ever seen The Road?
The road.
I
Oh
think it's
no,
called.
the McCormick one, or the
Yeah.
the pop.
Oh, that's depressing, man. That's for
I don't
yeah.
like I've like for me, like a lot of where I've tripped out on, like, and this has been going on for a while. Like I absolutely do not believe there's any such thing as thermonuclear weapons. I don't believe there's nuclear weapons. I don't think there's ever been nuclear weapons. I think that there are.
What's your take on the tsunami that they're talking about on that's supposed to hit the East Coast and then the West eventually? Because they're saying that they have like nukes that can go into the water and create tsunamis. I mean, but then again, if you don't believe in nuclear technology.
I think you know, like I come from the mutually assured. I talk about a lot on here. Is I've come from the mutually assured destruction generation. I was raised within the prime of my life was when they had the day of, the day after, and the day, you know, the nuclear holocaust movie on primetime television for 3 nights. And then and Threads came out at the same time. And from what I see, and I always take it down to the idiot with the hangover scenario. The bad vibe is like, at this point, there's just one idiot with a bad relationship would have gone a little cuckoo for coke.
Hit that button, huh?
Yeah, or done. Well, again, it's before when the Soviet Union fell, Alexander Level, who was the guy who was in charge of the Russian nuclear arms arsenal. When the Soviet Union fell, he came out publicly and is like, look, dude, when it fell apart, dude, we lost track of 200 nuclear suitcase-sized nukes, tactical nukes, suitcase size. He came out public, was like, we don't know where they are. And I for that was in the what? Whenever the Soviet Union fell.
Yeah.
So that's what, 30 years now? 30 years, nobody
said nothing off. I get what you're saying, bro. Like that's
And again, is we don't even talk about that stuff anymore. I grew up when the salt.
It's not even a threat. They don't even. You're right. They don't even.
I grew up with the atomic clock.
Right.
Like when they moved the atomic clock because of the BLM riots last year, I was like, no. Time out, dude. The atomic clock was never meant for anything but to keep track of how close to midnight we were with nuclear arms race. It was never meant to be for social issues or conventional warfare or anything. The atomic clock was very serious when I was a young man coming of age. And so they let, dude, I grew up with the SALT Treaty and I remember when they were decommissioning nukes in the Ukraine and all of the dance, dude. And we don't so much as talk about that stuff, dude.
True, very true, very valid points, man. Like, I've always been on the fence with it. I'm not like a 100% nuke guy. Like I mean, but what you're saying, really, yeah, that's very valid. You know, and
it's sort of like the space thing, right? Like when you start pulling the threads on past your own, like, look, you're talking to a dude who's sitting in a room. Like some of my favorite Lego sets are like the space station and the Saturn V. I
know you've seen all the ones where they're like on wires and it looks like they're one of those planes that go to the high altitude, so they lose gravity for a little bit and they come back down. I mean,
but all that stuff is like there's nothing more than there's the distance between what I hope. Like it's sort of like doctors, right? I want nothing more in my life than to be able to walk into a building with caduceus on the side of it and know that I'm going to get objective, unbiased help for whatever's ailing me, dude. But that myth has been crashed. I'll never trust anyone that needs to carry around. I'd way rather go talk to some crazy dude with in a deerskin robe before I will go see any of these people.
There's nothing wrong with a deerskin robe, man.
No, not at all. But you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just playing.
But it's like the space thing. Like I used to, like, up until 10 years ago. I used to be that like it was the.
Well, have you ever seen the map of how many satellites should be up there? According to like, what they say, it would be littered. The sky would be littered with satellites. Like
now when you get into when you start pulling the like intellectual threads of asking questions, not in the front, like not getting into the round earth or the flat earth, or there's the Van Allen belt and the
firmament,
that stuff, not any of that stuff.
Right.
You just start pulling the threads on the peripheral stuff, like the amount of like the
that SpaceX looks so fake. So fake.
They're doing it, dude. When you watch it now and they're doing it in our face, it's like that is so bad, like quality,
horrible, man.
Spooky, dude.
Yeah.
And so you take that whole thing back a little bit with.
Are you familiar with Werner von Braun and
the outline, the whole thing, and his tombstone and?
Well, no, that he wrote a book, a sci-fi book about. And one of his main characters was Elon, and he was supposed to take everybody to Mars. You familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Yeah. So I mean, that's weird. Like I don't know, like predictive programming. Like it makes you wonder if they because my whole thing is I think like CERN is they're trying to open up like stargates and portals to bring in
that's why it's at Apollon.
Like, right. Apollyon, the fallen angels, the demons, all that stuff. They're trying to
the bottomless pit is where they built it.
Right. That's yes. Yeah. They built it. So like, my thing is that, that they've been in contact with these, like, since the Nazis from like, way back when, supposedly they went to Antarctica and, they were looking for the Aryan race and all that stuff. And, but supposedly I've been reading this book of Enoch, and I mean, I read scripture. Book of Enoch's kind of extra canonical.
Okay.
So it talks about, let me see, it says that the fallen angels are trapped in a place where the sun always burns. It talks about 7 mountains. So there's the 7 summits in Antarctica. And so geographically, like it actually looks like, and it looks like they're talking about Antarctica. You can read, I think it's in chapter 2 of Enoch somewhere. I might be wrong, but it's in there. And yeah, so I think that they're saying that these fallen angels could be held there. I think that the elites, they've been trying to crack the veil, get the demonic to come through. I mean,
sure.
I really see it. And I don't know how you feel about Planet X. I don't know about Planet X. I just hear a lot about it, and they say that.
For my take on Planet X was it was another, again, is insert. What I've noticed go on, and so right, so one of the things that I've noticed, and this ties into almost every, and I just wanted to finish the thought about the news.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. It's just I just wanted to throw this tidbit out there before we moved on to that. Is I watched and this was back when Red Ice Radio was normal before he lost his mind. So Red Ice Radio used to be really all the alternative stuff, and he had someone on, this guy who talked about that the only way they could, and this was still the theoretical thing that the nuclear stuff was real, is the only way that they could do it was based upon like celestial alignments of planets and magnetic fields and where other things were going on. And it really challenged my mind that they could only blow these things off at certain longitudes and latitudes at certain times, and it was all based upon like this celestial coordination stuff. And then you move into the whole, like, you just get that little nugget, right?
So you think the NASA DART thing, that's just smoke screen, or you think they're really trying to plan to knock asteroids out of orbit and stuff, or away from the Earth?
To a dude who was willing to go, I don't know what anything is up there. I don't know anymore.
Past that skyline, it's any man's guess, right?
Anybody's guess. Once you kind of the spell broken on the realm of like, what is this realm we're in? And you ask some real deep personal questions about why you think the way you do and where that knowledge came from. And then you start digging about this thing going back, which gets me to where I was going about like Planet X, right? So to me, Planet X is for the truther alien things, the way that Orange Man was for the Patriots, right? So what we got to look at over the last 2 years plus, was what it looks like if you're not willing to let new information enter your dogma, if you will, and be like, okay, like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense now. Like, all right, like I'm willing to expand my thing. Like they're like, I still see them. There's still freaks running around with their MAGA gear on. And I'm like, dude, like
let go, brother.
Like, and to me, that's
he did you wrong, man. You can't trust him no more.
The Planet X stuff was going on. That was what, 5 years ago, 6 years
and
ago.
let me be clear. I'm not a firm believer in Planet X. I believe in the fallen angels. I believe in the demonic realm. I think that they are trying to come in. But Planet X is kind of like you said. It's like, who knows, man?
So interesting. But you got it is right. Like the real stuff is hidden with the ridiculous stuff. So
you got to sprinkle in some BS to kind of like dilute it.
I was super active and like wide awake when the Planet X was supposedly coming in like 8 years ago. It was about 8 years ago, right? And I remember being like, okay, like sounds reasonable to me. And there was all the weird things going on with the South Pole and there's some shadows here and there's things going on. And I was like, okay, like, and then I started to be like, do that weird thing where I observed my wanting of it to happen versus like people's dedication to it happening. And I was like, yeah, I would like this, and I go, well, why do I want this? Why do I want this? Because I wanted it, right? Like, oh yeah, dude, Planet X will explain a lot of stuff, dude. Like whatever it was. And it was like, well, yeah, I want it because like I'm trying to make sense of it all. And it's pretty fantastic and it's far out. And I got an overactive imagination. And like I just looked at myself and was like, okay, this is a little bit of overactive imagination, man, going on. And I go, but these people are like real into it. And then I was like, okay, let's see what happens when the time comes where it's going to get close enough to drop off everybody or do it, uncloak from behind whatever it was doing. And it didn't happen. And I was like, okay, this is just like the mutually assured destruction. This is just like Y2K. This is just like 2112 and all this stuff. And then I go, again, I looked at it again through my own alcoholism, right? And I go, nothing was about to jack me up more on all those levels than my alcoholism, right? Like nothing was going to be more Armageddon oriented than me at the end there. Nothing, dude, you're talking to Hiroshima and Nagasaki at that time. I was wishing for mushroom. Dude, that's what I'm saying is I used to sit on the top of that mountain and pray for mushroom clouds. Like, just let's do it already. Enough with the foreplay. Let's do it. Let's do it. And
want the global reset, huh?
Well, it was just more like enough of the BS.
The machine, just want to see the machine just like.
Yeah. Like and so here we are, right? Like where it's so much more subtle. And that's what we were talking about when we were up there is like, it's so much more subtle. And then you go, okay, well, what's subtle? And we were talking about where does all the trash go and where does all the gas come from? And then
I'm still on that, man. Where is all that trash?
But it's dude, I watch. So we have the landfill over here, right up in the mountains. Like You can get up high and look at it. And dude, that thing's been like, it's been going on and on and on, but it's just doesn't seem to be getting that much bigger, like how you would imagine it should.
Hey, countless people, just bags and bags of trash. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, you know. I know they break a lot of it down, they recycle it. I guess they burn some of it, but the math doesn't seem to
the math
to
doesn't
go,
know the
doesn't add up.
math doesn't make any sense. And I remember I watched a thing of, it was before, like, it's like another one of these dudes that was really giving out a lot of good information was Max Egan. And then they hit him with the Blu-ray, and he's now just over the rainbow with the like doom and gloom on it. But like he did a pretty interesting talk about trying to like wrap around the population numbers on the planet and be like, it seems a little like off, like
right.
on a level, like, you know, you can definitely look at these mega cities, like these mega cities, but when you really, and again, I see
up to Oregon, it's like that drive from California to Oregon, there's nothing. You know what I mean?
But yeah, so you go like, all right, there's 40 million people in the state of California.
Right.
Say there's 10 million people in Los Angeles County, right? Yeah, I go, that's a pretty radical number when you really get down to it. And I go, okay, fine. Let's say there's 10 million people in Los Angeles County. And then I just keep pulling the thread on the gas. I go, and everyone, because we're in Carville, right? Everyone drives their cars, everyone, and how many tanks of gas per person per week equals how much, and I just don't see it. Like there should be, and the way I look at it is a little bit like this, right? If you have these locked up back almost when there was like heavy traffic, you have these giant like rush hour. LA is always rush hour. Like you have the 405s always that way, the 10s always that way. There should be way more 18-wheelers full of gas embedded in that traffic all the time. And people are like, oh, but they do it at night. I go, dude, I drive around. I used to drive around at night all the time. There weren't that many of them rolling around. You know what I mean? There's something off with the,
because I mean, I've seen like how much those stations are supposed to hold, and it doesn't look like, I mean, it looks like they'd be depleted in 3 hours of heavy traffic in and out of that station. So I don't know, man. It's trippy stuff, you know?
That's where I think that they're hiding the thing of like the code to it is, you know, the abundance of God, right? Like they've got us on the scarcity model. And that is to me like where they've tricked everybody. Like, so all the people that are like who've bought into this thing going on right now, they all buy into the lack model.
Right.
They all are like, there ain't enough. Oh my God, there's not enough. There's not enough. And I think that, you know, the more you move away from it, there's really just abundance everywhere. And and it's our own doubt and spell casting of ourselves that produces the lack constantly.
Like Christ with the loaves of bread and the fish, you know what I mean? We can manifest that, you know, through faith. And I think that that's definitely, you know, in this reality, you know, and that's a big thing. They keep people, you know, it's all like, you know, high frequency tribe, it's all vibrational, you know, they keep you in a low vibrational state. And that's, you know, you're deficient, you know, material and spiritual, you know? So I think that, yeah, man, it's through faith. You can apply that faith and you can, you know, live in abundance. I definitely agree. It's a lot of it is, you know, conditioning, not just the mind, but the soul, you know what I mean? To not be spiritually connected to the creator, you know, when you're connected to the creator, it's just, you see things from a bird's eye view, you know, you don't see things from the rat in the maze. You know, actually, another thing that tripped me out, rats in the maze, is that I don't know if you've ever seen, like, if you look at a city from a bird's eye view, It looks just like a motherboard on a computer.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you have that. And if you you know, and if you look at how the streets are, like San Francisco, for example, right? It's like exactly like a giant rat in a labyrinth, you know, and you know, the rat's always trying to get the cheese. The cheese symbolizes money. You know, you're in this rat race. You know, they always say that. You know, it's we're psychologically conditioned to be damn near little mice running around this little maze, going from point A to point B, trying to gather the cheese to bring back to your nest. You know what I mean? And even if you look at a house blueprints from an eagle eye view, from a, you know, from the top down, which they only come in, but you know what I mean? When you're looking at a blueprint, you know, down on it, it literally looks like a rat, a smaller version of a rat in a maze,
Sure,
a
sure.
house, a building, you know, anywhere you go. So you function, you know, in a maze-like mentality. We all do. And, you know, I think that, you know, people are frantic rats running in a maze, you know, and that's why, like, I've been reading a guy called, I don't know if are you familiar with Meister Eckhart from like the 1200s?
No, no.
Bam. Let me see. Meister Eckhart. Dude is a G.
Card.
Yeah, check him out, bro. He's like, he's deep, man. He talks all about, he was a Christian, but he was very like, he had a lot of mystical views on things, you know, and he just talks about quieting the mind, you know, and letting your heart connect to God, because the mind is limited. The mind can only comprehend so much. And the mind is a computer, and the mind really, you can't think yourself into heaven, so to speak. You know, it's a heart connection. People think they can sit and analyze everything to reach these higher planes, but it's really because in another thing in spirituality, people think they have to gain a lot. They have to add to themselves to become something, when really it's a stripping away. Meister Eckhart talks about that. It's stripping away all the false mentalities and all the false ideologies and all the false, just, you know, there's just layers, and we're like onions, you know, we've got layers and layers of just BS surrounding our true essence. You know what I mean? And once you start stripping that away and quieting your mind and letting your heart connect to the divine, you know, you really start to see things differently, you know, and you like, you know, because I mean, I was cerebral for so long, you know what I mean? And when I was into like a lot of like weird stuff, like occult, not like bad occult, but just like, you know, a lot of like, I was just accepting anything that kind of like, not anything, but like, I was very open, you know what I mean? I got into a lot of new age stuff, and you know, but when I just you know, I came, you know, I just came to, I think the Lord just put his hand on me, you know what I mean? And I came back to Christ. And you know, it sounds very, you know, people, you know, have their own views on, and I love everybody, you know, I love Muslim, Hindus, everybody, you know, everybody needs love, man. That's the whole thing Christ was teaching. And that's what you don't get from religion. Religion is a form of separation. You know, Christ was teaching you the higher form of existence is to love and have compassion on everybody, even your enemies, even people who don't agree with you, and all that. So my law is love, you know, and I see that, man. I see that, you know, that's again, going back to, you know, that's what they try to take us away from. You know, they keep you cerebral, they keep you calculating every step, they keep you over analyzing everything, you know, so that you can't work from your heart, because people don't even know how to work from their heart. You know, people don't even know who they are. Most people, you know what I mean? They're given a they're preconditioned by just their, you know, the society, you know, their friends, things around them, you know, and you know, sometimes you have to detach and you have to strip away instead of trying to keep adding to yourself. When you strip away to your just core essence, you know, the soul God made you to be, opposed to the mind that the world gives you, you know. And the mind has a purpose. I'm not saying you just are like on, you know, there's no use for the mind, but the mind shouldn't be the controlling factor. You should be operating out of the heart, and the mind is like a filter to analyze reality, you know. And that's where I'm at, man. I'm just really trying to get, you know, stay in my heart, you know, let the heart flow, you know, because that's super key, man. You know, when you go ahead, bro.
Oh, no, I'm like breathing that in, brother. Breathing that in.
Yeah, well, because that's the trick. That's another trick. You know how we get caught in all these conspiracies, talking about Planet X and people going off the deep end and all that stuff. It's like, because they're trying to think themselves into the next plateau, to the next level, to the next, you know, and the mind is limited, because the mind can be deceived. The mind can be influenced by emotion. You know what I mean? The mind is not as strong as people think they are. It is. You know what I mean? People truly rely on their mind, but and that's what I think it is. I think it's a surgical spiritual lobotomy that is being performed on the masses, where people are just not in touch with their hearts, because it's all for self,
That's what I think. That's why, I think, we're like, at the same time, we're doing that. We do dig into what is exactly going on here and analyze it, because there is a level of this code that's being inserted into these people that is obviously exactly what you said. Like, there is no way that you could be convinced to do what they're proposing and actually implementing if you're operating out of your heart and having truly deeper thoughts coming from your heart. Like, there's no way that you could actually have your heart working on that deeper level and sit back and say that what's going on makes this is good. Like, when I see that, we like the scientism, right? Like, right. This, like, where I bump into it a lot is like, I went to study chemistry in college and stuff. I was a chemistry major. I listened to them bandy around this term science, and I'm like, this is so insane what how they're going about it. And like, you kind of broke it down as to like, how do they do it? You get you to not feel your heart. And then, of course, the over intellected mind grasping at pseudo intellectualism will be like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Do this, do that. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's I mean, that's why we do our show on Sunday, right? Like skateboarding. Mm-hmm. Skateboarding's just supposed to be like an activity of heart and soul and free of intellect almost, right? And we've watched that get taken over, and we're like, that's why me and Jordan just struggle with it. It's like, huh? Like, and you see that there's these people trying to put this package of thought on top of something that truly can't happen with the mind working. For example, I went up to go skate yesterday, and I was,
you know what? I don't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of times the mind's actually working against you.
Yeah. No,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but that's what I'm totally getting at, is like, the one thing I know about it is if my mind is in the thought, like, I don't even try to go skateboarding. I have to have my mind almost not, like, being in a total different state of like non-thought to even, like, I'm old. I got to like guard my physical form at 52, right?
Right.
So I went to the skate park yesterday, and my mind was very busy, and I was like, I just came up here to surgical strike and get a session in, and I go, I can't use the skateboarding to shut it off. Like the mind will shut off my skateboarding, and like, very aware that my mind had too much going on in there. And I go, and I see it now, like, where this, like, how like these things are happening, where they're like inserting all of this thought and pseudoscience and.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people get the sauce, they'll intellectualize it. Like, yeah. Well, because I had to, and it's well, this is happening and this, and it's like, it's all mental calculations why they got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is it's not coming from. That's why the people that have taken it for like real valid reasons, like yeah, you got to love them too.
Right. I don't judge. All love, all peace, all blessings, but you got to sit back and you're just kind of like,
man, talk about the mental gymnastics you have to convince yourself to do something that you don't want to do. That's
90% of people watch CNN. So
this is all right. Let me bump this by you. Is
right.
When you look at the ratings on all this stuff.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot, but the numbers don't pan out on that either. Like,
yeah, you don't think
so that bumps me into this, the thing with the population and the numbers, right? So if they say that, like, you know, if like the numbers are pretty trippy, that like a dude like Tim Pool is pulling way bigger numbers than any CNN.
the Don Lemon or whatever his name is.
Yeah, let's say their main guy who just canned, right? But so the numbers say that X number of people are watching, which when you compare it to the supposed the alleged population of this country, it comes down to be like 1/3% of the population's watching CNN, let's say, right? Like the numbers aren't that, I don't think they get 3 million views a show. Like,
no, I think that when, to be honest with you, when the pandemic hit, I think a lot of people turned it on. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And then if they're not watching it, their uncle or their, you know, whoever is, and they're like coming around and be like, hey, you know, da 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 da, and they're, you know, on board. But you're right, dude. I don't trust, dude. You can't trust any of these statistics and any of these numbers, man. Because I mean, I could write statistics. I could tell you 75% of, you know, the ocean is this, you know what I mean? But you don't, you know, unless you can measure yourself, it's all just, you know, speculation. And you know, it's, yeah, I don't get too deep in numbers. And my 90% of the CNN, I was just saying that, like, most of these people are been drinking the Kool-Aid since day one, you know. Some people, I think, oh, go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is there's something else going on that I think we almost have been convinced to blow off as media manipulation, right? Like I think there's something deeper going on here, because like, so when you and I are talking, right, we're two people that are exploring what it is coming from a perception of a relationship with Christ and God, and living in heart, and trying to like use our discernment to negotiate the minefield of this lower dimensional realm, right?
Right.
But I think there's almost something deeper going on that we sort of gloss over as, yeah, it's that, because all right, who's saying this? Like, oh, it's fake news. Oh, it's media manipulation. It's the same. It's coming from the same source. This media manipulation thing is coming from the same conduit, if you will. And I've been tripping out on it because I'm watching it and I go, I can, like, I know all sorts of people that, so if the people that I know that are awake, they're looking at it too, and they're not tripping out. So it's got to be something like under the, and I kind of was on this theory that it was people that were actually pursuing God, but then you see all these other, then you talk to Jordan, and he's like, no, all my Muslim brothers have cracked too. And I look at all these other churches that have cracked, and I go, so it's not spiritual either. So what is it that allows people like you and I to be in a state of discernment operating on heart? And what is it that's going on over there with these people? Because I don't know. I think that the media manipulation thing is a Planet X. Like, and I'm like thinking this as we're speaking, like, because I haven't really thought about it before till you kind of like brought this up, was I don't know if that's what it is either. It seems to be something else, because the media thing's too stupid. It's really too stupid to like wrap your head around. Like, there's something else going on too, and I don't know what it is, man. That's why we're talking.
Well, I think you know, a guy like me, a guy like you, you know, when did you really get into decalcifying your pineal gland?
I want to say about like 10 years ago, I discovered I had one.
Yeah, you know, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think the pineal is kind of like, you know, that's a gateway right there, you know, to perception of the spiritual, you know. So if you don't have that, you know, a lot of people are, you know, not conscious of that, you know. And when you're conscious of decalcifying your pineal gland, one thing is, I don't idolize the pineal gland. I don't think it's, you know, if you don't have, you know, in the word it says, thine eye be single and full of light, you know, or thine eye be single full of darkness. So I mean, a witch, you know, or a Satanist can have their pineal gland open, but
Yep.
they're full of dark, and they use it to, you know, interact with demons and stuff. So the pineal gland is just a tool. It's just a part of your body that God gave you, but it's been shut off by the, you know, the powers that be, you know, the elites. You know, they don't want you to use it. But just because you focus, like, because some people like idolize the pineal gland, and that's just, like I said, it's just a tool, just like money. You know what I mean? Something you use. It's not to be idolized, you know. And you know, but I think that's a lot of it. You know, when you're focusing through your pineal gland, you're seeing things, and you're connecting to your heart. You know, there's certain spiritual instruments that doesn't religion. Just because you're religious doesn't mean you have those active. You know.
No, I've noticed that.
I'm not saying everybody didn't take it has their pineal gland open. I'm just saying that I think that is, you know, people who are doing certain you know, spiritual work on themselves, and they connect to the Father truly, and not through religion but through relationship. You know, they get little, you know, they get those the angels around them, you know, the God, Christ, you know, they're hitting them with wisdom, they're hitting them with little, you know, breadcrumbs to the truth, you know, and then people just make those decisions. But one thing I know is when you put something inside you, man, that's a big decision. You know, people take it lightly, but you know, it's crazy, man. I feel bad, you know, because there's people that I love that have decided to do that, and I just pray for the best for them. But it's sad, man, because it's not a, you know, when you just do that on a whim and you're not, it wasn't a thought out decision. Sketchy, man. It's ultra sketchy, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's not the way to do it, man. You know, sit back, you know, let it, you know. And I don't think even if that they had tests going back 20 years, I'd take it, because I wouldn't believe the test. But I'm just saying that, you know, it's a new product, and it's, man, that's a lifetime decision right there. You know what I'm saying?
Thing we've bumped into, right, is the people that needed to take it for arguable, like, legitimate reasons to safeguard themselves. Like, I fully, like, no worries. Like,
yeah, that's between you and God, man. I'm not the judge of all. You know what I mean?
But not even on the judgment level. I just think there's an interesting thing of, like, you have certain demographics of people that are like, no, like, this is for real for me due to my age, my immune system, whatever it may be. Like, I went in there, I consulted, I made a decision. This is the decision that's right for me.
Right.
Those people, like,
no, you give them a pass, man, because
they're like, to me, like I get that. Like, I totally get that. That's no different than me sitting there being like, taking my black seed oil and doing what I do to take care of myself. Like, it's like, oh, all right, I'm going to do this.
Right.
And I'm making my qualified decision to do it. But the interesting thing that I've noticed is there, and then there's all of us who have done the.
But one thing I will say is it's hard to get off that train. You know, when you start putting stuff in your body, it's like, man, well, I put that, I put the next one, I put the next one. You know, and now you're on round 3, and it's just like, when, you know, I think it's harder. The more you keep taking stuff, the harder it is to get off that train. But like you said, the people who do it under circumstances of, you know, some people are doing it because I think they truly think they're just trying to make the best decision for them and their family. They're doing it out of their form of love. You know what I mean? This is just how they feel is, you know, most beneficial to them and those around them, you know, and I respect, you know, I mean, hey, I'm not here to judge that, you know, but I think that, you know, the critical thinking went out the window, you know, but at the same time, like, I know a guy, he's a brother in Christ. He's an older man. He's had, like, you know, 3 major surgeries, and he's dealt with a lot of illnesses and sicknesses. And he just did it because he didn't want to, you know, he didn't want to have to risk his health and stuff. So I understood that. And I did not hold that against him. And I don't hold it against anybody. It's between them and God regardless. But I just see that, you know, and he's an older man, honestly, he's older. So it's like, at that age, you know,
sense to me. No, yeah. I'm more, what I'm getting at is, like, there's this other, I would say, almost dominant group is the peer pressure crowd of, right, like, I'm doing it for the sake of getting along to get along thing. And I go, wow, that to me is the craziest thing. And then you throw in the coercion on crowd too. Is like,
you can go to a Bruno Mars concert. No,
no,
I don't listen to Bruno Mars, FYI. But no, I'm just saying, you know, people taking it. So I don't listen to that guy, but I'm just saying, you know, people are just taking it so they can go to the, you know, the Sharks game, the Bruno Mars concert. No, like, come on.
There's people that are doing it for their actual to sustain their lives in their own reality.
Right. Now and that's a different
other people that are just doing it because they want to go eat sushi and puke on their shoes. And I go, that's the interesting part about it. And then you have this coercion thing. For me, the coercion thing is the deal breaker on it all. Like on the level, but we knew it was coming. But I remember, like, so I've been sitting and tripping on myself, right? Like I go, so like a year ago plus, I was like, I'm not concerned about the little piece of paper or the things. And I remember I had them all and the whole deal. And I was like, it's not relevant to my reality. And so here we are where it's actually being implemented. And I was like, I was asking myself this the other day and I go, was I wrong? Should I have been concerned a year and a half ago about it? And I looked again at in my mirror of myself and I go, no, because I'm less concerned about it now that it's more implemented than I was. I was more concerned about it a year and a half ago when it was like we saw it coming, but it wasn't implemented versus it being implemented now. And I'm like, oh, so that's what it looks like. I don't want to have anything to do with that part of the reality. Like whatever you guys are up to with that sort of thing, thank you very much. I'll pass. When before a year and a half ago, I was like, dude, I like this is scary on the they live approach or the 1984 or the Orwellian kind of concept. I was like, and that's why I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter because I don't live in that world. But now that it's here, I'm like, dude, you guys just go about when I made the decision about the Fish concert and I was like, I'm not going.
Oh, sorry. You ain't going, huh?
No.
Were they doing the passes for it or what?
So one of our viewers, Dan from St. Louis, sent me out like a ticket, like to Santa Barbara Bowl, dude.
Oh, wow.
Like a Frio ticket, like a full high dollar ticket, the whole thing. And I was like rad, and he'd promised me the ticket back in the spring, right? Before it all got weird. And I was like, rad. And then he was like, it's coming. And he sent me the email from Fish going, hey, we're like, you got to show your card and this and that to get in the venue. And I was like, so this was the moment, my personal moment of truth. I was like, because I was like, all right, I have what I need to do that. I can do that. And I was like, maybe I just need to go spend a night like boogieing. Like, maybe I just need to go boogie out with the band and do one of those. Been a while.
Forget all your worries.
Well, no. But then I sat there and I go, wait a minute. Do I want to participate in that energy field on any level? And again, is my buddy, he said, he's like, no, there's like people like making them in the parking lot. It's not that big of a deal. And I go, yeah, but like, I don't want to participate where like there's even that level of that going on. I don't need to be part of.
You don't want to be the one person without the hive mind. You know what I mean? Going in there with everybody else is on.
I don't even want to be the infiltrator.
Right.
That's what I mean. Is like I bumped into it where I was like, oh, I know this isn't the droid you're looking for type of stuff. Like I was like, I could probably get in there without the stupid thing. Right. But it's like, I don't even want.
But is that the crowd you're trying to get in with? You know, I got you. Right.
That's what I'm getting at is when I did the deconstruct on it, I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with the band that's promoting that. And then my buddy's like, well, they're just trying. And I go, no, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, they sold out, man, and just write them off. They're not worth it. I feel it, brother. Like that's, yeah, man. I mean, you know, yeah.
But it's all over. So when you bump into the new thing, so we got the guy coming on, Josh Harmony coming on tomorrow night with Vans, right? I'm a lifelong wearer of skate highs. Yeah. 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 Now all this, I saw his thing and I was pre-interviewing with him a little bit and that suddenly dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. Like now it's come to my feet.
Right.
Like in order, like, you know, when the thing with Dr. Bonner's soap came up, I was like, it's my soap I use.
What's wrong with Dr. Bonner? I didn't catch that.
Dr. Bonner's is mandated the sauce for their employees too.
Oh, geez, man. That's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh no,
they're the only natural product in Walmart. You know what I mean? Cosmetics.
No, but that's what
not cosmetics, but you know, hair and all that.
No, but that's what we're up against is it's infiltrated even that level of it all. Like it's like that's what I mean is there it's such a weird thing we were talking about this is like how does a vegan get convinced to participate in this, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to blow him up, but like one of the big skaters in the skate world is like a super vegan, right? And he's out promoting the hell out of this thing, like one of those guys. And it's like, well, how can you be a vegan and promoting anything coming out of
unnatural
a industry and a corporations that are based upon the abuse of living animals that you have said you will not participate in their eating for ethical reasons, but you'll actually promote the product coming out of these corporations that's how who do you think they're experimenting on this, running the first line trials on? It's all these animals you said you wouldn't eat, Mr. Vegan.
Well, he could be a puppet. He could be a puppet, brother.
It's very much
either a puppet or has no critical thinking skills. You know what I mean? Because to be a vegan and health conscious, then be able to promote something that goes against that that's pure ignorance. So, like, I mean, my take on it would be either a shill or just not a critical thinker.
Well, but it's this very. I guess what I'm kind of getting into is it's this very like there's something. He's an atheist, though, right? So that makes some sort of sense. But it's this very much. Like, so it was like when one of the viewers sent me one of my videos from like, I don't know, I was doing what I do here. And he's go, dude, watch your video from like 8 years ago. And it's me just alone in my room talking about all of this stuff before it ever happened, just how weak people are. And they're the pharmaceutical corporations and the food and the whole thing. And just being like, these people will fall for anything, right? And I watched this video and I go, all right. At least I'm consistent, right? Because for me, where I don't even care if it turns into like it makes me sprout rainbow energy out of the side of my head. I'm not going to participate with one of the darkest corporate complex the planet's ever seen, even if they were making like a good product. And then you go, okay, well, but you had an Advil or an ibuprofen. So it's very, very hard.
You already have rainbows sprouting out the side of your head. So, I mean, that's nothing you have to add to, brother. But, another thing, I was onto this a while back, and I know you were kind of like digging around Rand Paul. I don't know how you still feel about dude. Are you still a Rand Paul guy?
Yeah, I like Rand Paul.
Oh, bro, he's promoting he wants a new sauce. You seen that?
I know.
Brother, check this out. You know me, I'm always like into like, I research like, people's Masonic ties and things like that. You know he's part of the Nose Society?
The what?
Google the Nose Society and Rand Paul. N-O-Z-E. N-O-Z-E. So they're like a Masonic type of fraternal order in college where he went to. And he was part of it. Another guy was part of it, Billy Graham. Another guy, I think one of the Bush was in there. I mean, so this is like a fraternal society like the Skull and Bones. They're a little more sarcastic in the way they do it. But actually, Ron Paul was accused by one of his classmates in college for kidnapping this girl. They made it like it was like a hazing situation, so they didn't go like all the way, They didn't make it extreme, but basically they grabbed this girl, tied her up, took her to like a river, made her pray to the Aqua Buddha while they're taking bong hits. First they went to their apartment, hit a bunch of bong hits, then took her to the river, made her pray to some Aqua Buddha. So, but regardless of all that, that's weird. But then back to the No Society. I mean, once I saw he was part of the No Society and who else was in that, like Google that whole tie, bro. That dude he's sketch, man. He's just like a Trump, bro. Like people gotta be careful with that guy. Yeah.
When he came out hyping the new sauce the other day, Anomaly did a pretty good breakdown on how full of it he was. I was like, geez.
Yes, that's where I saw that on Anomaly. But I knew the Aqua Buddha and the No Society for probably about a year, a little over a year.
That's I think we're talking. That's again is
what he looks believable. Like when he's like real stressed, has that stressed out look, and he's like trying to fight for the cause. You're like, man, yeah, okay. But something about it, man, it's like it's really hard for me to dig a lot of these guys once they get to that certain level. And if you're getting a spotlight on you, man, it's like you got to remember who controls the spotlight. You know what I mean? It's the ones that are placing these little puppets in their positions.
Well, that's the spot that again. That's what I even going back to what I was saying about the fake news and the lame, like that comes from the same spotlight, right? Like there's when I do the step back, and this is maybe my only like where I don't like the minute like I saw that I was like, all right, and now you bring it up, I'm like, yep, okay, that's cool. Like I'm not afraid of that.
And good old Billy Graham, man, you know what I mean? He was part of the same society, bro. Like and they're super weird. Like if you can Google the No Society and watch, or YouTube the No Society and watch some of their videos, they're super like just weird. Like they talk a bunch of like, oh, they're into some stuff, man. You could tell, bro. They're doing some definitely some shady stuff behind their little meetings. But yeah, it's weird cats, man.
Well, that's the weird. That's the weird part about all of this stuff is that's what I mean. Is it's so deep. We're like,
it's kind of like who can you trust type thing. You know what I mean?
Well, it was for me where I had a new level of like waking up to the thing again. It was when I was at that firefighters protest and I finally had enough of all the Trumpers pirating these things because I saw it downtown. I was like, all right, these dudes are operating.
Are they still waiting for those sealed indictments or what? What's going on?
For sure they are, dude. Retards, dude. There's
oh man,
Lutards, man.
I think the swamp is still draining. I'm not sure. I gotta,
Well, it's like the one of the traps they set was right. This whole thing with
that Q stuff, bro. I'll be honest with you. Even when that first cracked off back in the day, it didn't sit right. It never sat right with me.
Never bought into it for a second. It was so dumb, dude.
It's like a fantasy story that they just kind of like, it's like, bro, this man, and people still thinking he's sending them signals and all this stuff, bro. It's like I don't know.
It's that thing it's going back to that thing even with the where we started with the John Carpenter movie, right? Like right. as much as I think that's
interesting. And they speak on that John Carpenter. They say that the TV emits signals even when it's off, and I'm like, TV probably does emit signals when it's off.
I'm all about all that weird stuff. Like that's actually like real. Like I remember.
Well, again, the crystal technology, the EMFs, the frequencies
never run out of power. Like there's been like where I again is one of the things I train myself to, and I think this helps me a lot. Is like I said, is when we used to watch these movies, we used to do every pass after that was watch the background, see what's in the background, because that's where all the cool little stuff that was placed by the prop guys and the
stuff that's trying to plant in your subconscious is not in the main spotlight. It's the things that are behind that just kind of you soak in.
So when I like, for example, when I watch any of these things coming out, I'm always like, I watch a lot of. If I'm getting clips, like I like to get clips from local media in other parts of the country, right? And random stuff like, oh, so-and-so went missing or this happened over here. Like they'll just come up in my YouTube feed, right? And I bump into him, and I don't watch him because I'm even interested in what the story's about, so to speak. I'm always interested in the peripheral stuff that gets into the tidbits, like that gets into the thing that you wouldn't normally like if you're focusing on the main event, you wouldn't pick up. So I remember there was this girl that went missing last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Maybe it's been since COVID, I forget, or the year 2019, whatever. She went missing up by Stevens Pass up in Washington, right? And she parked her car and she got lost in the woods. They found her, like it all worked out. But there was just this little thing they said in the phone was her phone ran out of power, but they'd picked up a signal of her off in the woods after her phone ran out of power. And I was like, I've been super aware of it ever since. You have the things where you can put your
when your phone is off, they can listen to your audio conversations.
Never runs out of power because this device has the Tesla coil technology in it, and we've seen it all the time, but people just don't put two and two together. Those little things at the Starbucks where you could put it on the table and it would just, without the wireless charging, that is Nikola Tesla's frequency technology, but it's so close that you don't get that it's transmitting right through the bottom of your phone. But that's the same thing, just, make it 1,000 miles, right?
Right.
So it's the thing where I'm always watching. For me, like when the whole narrative about what was going on finally had the real evidence for me was when Governor Newsom said they didn't have enough cotton swabs. And I went, okay,
have you seen when the guy grabs a test and then they've got like live, like they're moving by themselves, the little pieces of fabric.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I'm like,
Hammer's like, I don't buy it.
It's not that I don't buy it. It's that,
man.
What's
your nanotech? What's your view on nanotech?
I think that it's there. I get into it's sort of my thing about it is like, even with that one, like, right. Like the first watch of that, I went, whoa, gnarly, dude. Oh my God, the thing. And then I went, wait a minute. Like, who's this broad? What's going on? And I go, wait a minute. So she's the only person on this planet with an electron microscope who's done this.
Oh, you're talking about the Mara Lori, what was her name?
Yeah, the girl,
the hydras and all that.
It's alive in the thing, and so I get a little bit.
A lot of people were saying she was a shill. I don't know, but they were saying that she's like some about her, like that she's too. I don't know.
It's not even the shill thing about it. It's. I go. If I tend to view my life from the perspective of like me, in my senses, I go, I'm just a skateboarder who likes to read books, doesn't watch television. And I go, I have an undying curiosity to like explore my realm and my reality and who I am and what I am. And I go, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm not that dedicated to it. I'm full of like my own just sloppiness about it. I have all my bedevilments, right? And I go, and I look around at some of this stuff and I go, if I had any of these tools near me, electron microscopes, all these devices or whatever they may be across the board, that would be the first thing I'd be doing, would be going and digging, like getting me some of this stuff to put on a slide, dude. And so you're telling me on a planet supposedly of 8 billion people that she's the only girl who did this, the only person with an electric mind. You get what I'm saying? Is like, I think a lot of this, when you kind of get down to the human level of it all, really makes even less sense about what's going on.
But I was actually talking about the ones where they just get samples of the tests and they just pull the strands apart, the strands start moving. They're just like regular Joes. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen a little of that. I don't. my interest, my interest isn't that. I think that's a little bit of the, like, I did my Anthony Patch thing, and it's interesting.
I was gonna say Patch, because Patch, yeah, I don't know, like the surf class and
I think Patch is so on it, but it was what I got this is where my Patch thing sort of tripped out, because I was way into Anthony Patch when he was doing the CERN and the D-Wave computers. And
definitely interesting guy, regardless. You know what I mean?
Super gnarly. So I used to be into Patch way back then.
Yeah.
And then he was doing his thing, and then he was super honored about what was going on with the sauce and the whole deal. And then all of a sudden, he got weird and turned his thing off. And I was like,
really?
Oh, you have to go. You have to subscribe to his, like.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. His Entangled magazine or whatever.
Well, no, I'd been subscribed to Entangled magazine for years.
Okay.
For any of this, because I was all into his thing with the chips and the pyramids, and like he was before.
He's a deep cat.
Yeah, he's got it going on. But what I mean is when he turned off his own thing, right? Because he's the big dude that this is going on, and Christ and the whole thing and this and that. And I go, well, why are you turning your thing off if you're afraid? Like, I thought you were like rallying for Jesus. Why do you care if people are bum rushing your scene? Like, let it get deleted naturally.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because all stuff got scrubbed off. It's just what
well, he was talking about, some that I was kind of like, again, it's interesting to me. I don't believe everything. I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't believe everything that's told to me. But I also like to play with ideas. To me, it's a lot of it's, if it isn't true, it's entertaining. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And,
yes.
And my thing on him is when he was talking about they're going to hit a switch and everybody's going to turn into like the surf class. And I was just like what? Like, whoa, like that's a deep concept, but it's like really, like everybody's just going to, like, one day you're going to walk outside and they're all going to like look at you at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think that. But I thought it was an interesting thing. I was like, bro, like, but then it's like, it's so extreme, his narrative, it's so extreme. It's kind of like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to swallow.
Where I dumb it down a little bit and I go, with that as I go to, from my perspective, if I watch the video the kid had me watch I reposted it from 8 years ago. It already happened. They flipped the switch a long time ago. This is the cover of it. Like, this is the actual, like, activation of this, like, from my perspective. And again, fortunately, I've got 13 years of me babbling about my perception of reality, where people flip it back to me and they're like, this dude sent me the video. You just got to go watch your video from 8 years ago, dude. Like, you've already figured it all out. And I'm watching the video from 8 years ago. And I'm like, if you had asked me 8 years ago, they already had flipped the switch.
Yeah, because everybody's already on like a hive mind mentality. Like, if
everybody's already in on it, dude.
Yeah.
So here and this is where, like, I get into the solution thing, where, like, I'm stoked, like, to, like, we're on this in the.
But I'm gonna say I have noticed, like, I've noticed that people are since this thing. I've noticed that people, it's subtle. It's not like a very, you know what I mean. It's not like a super obvious, it's not like right in your face. But if you start to analyze people, it seems a disconnect, and it seems that people don't go as deep. Like, I mean, conversations with the majority of your, it's just.
But Antonio, they never did. That's what I mean, is the only reason that it seems that way is because the people that we hang out with now, that we talk about, are already so invested in this gaining knowledge thing that we finally found each other. Like, so the dude who made the video 8 years ago, I didn't have some dude up where you live that's going to text me in the middle of the night and we're going to have some crazy talk on the side of the highway, dude. We're not solidified as a group of people yet. So those thoughts were already here. I just didn't have anyone to bounce them by with. So I was having my dumbed down reality with all my bros and friends and stuff. And it wasn't that big of a deal. But now that it's shifted, like, I don't have any, like, compared to us talking versus the conversation I would have had with my surfer buddies, you know, it's the same conversation. It's just now it's totally asinine because, like, it's obvious that we have to really, like, move the ball.
What do you think of people like, okay, and this is something I've noticed that, and I hear what you're saying. I don't mean to, jump over what you're saying, because no, I agree with you. That's something that's people have been, I think it started with the flu SHOTs, you know what I mean? Like, I think those had some stuff in it. I think people have been continuously conditioned, and to be passive and to be hive mind mentality. Also, it's like, dude, there's levels to it. There's the frequencies, there's the media conditioning, there's, you just want to fit in. So to fit in, you just go with the flow. There's so many different levels to why people fall into this, this hive mind thing. But another thing I've noticed is it seems that people don't have as strong of wills. You know what I mean? Like, their wills aren't as strong. Like, you can really just, I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like, when I chill with people, it seems like their willpower isn't what it was.
But I don't, again, as we're even just, I'm thinking about this as we're talking real time, is I just think that part of the thing is we've refined ourselves into, like, a like-minded conversation plane where, like, I don't have any desire or interest to, like, small talk with people that have bought into it, but they didn't just buy into it today. They've always bought into it. They just, now it's,
no, I get you on that. I just, like, I've been on this, just like you, for a long time, this path, probably maybe not as long as you, but I've been on it for a minute, man. And, I've seen changes, man. I've seen changes that since people started taking it. It's not, like I said, it's subtle. It's not stuff that you can, like, really.
Imagine this is the change, because we're kind of piggybacked out of Anthony Patch's surf class thing, and I've kind of been bumping into this a lot. Is like they'd flipped the switch a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Now it's just the cover story to, like, focus it, right? Or whatever they're doing, right?
What do you think of Gates with the Fun V?
What?
Gates, I'm trying to use words so I don't mess with your channel.
The guy,
yeah, that guy. He's into computers and in health. So the Fun V, the Fun V that you ever see that Pentagon video where he's talking to him about making the Fun V?
No, but
okay.
Yeah, send that.
There's a whole video that you could pull up where he talks about isolating the part of the brain that is that ties into religious extremists.
I know what you're talking about now. But they do. Well, that's what serotonin uptake inhibitors are. Is psychedelic
SRIs.
SRIs is the SRIs are psychedelic drugs without the visuals, dude. They're doing all that. Like, that's what I mean
so you don't think that this had to do with the Fun V? What they're hitting people with?
My take on it is just going back into the patch lane for a minute is where I think that for people like us, like, our world became so much brighter all of a sudden that because we finally had an excuse to find each other, and we sat when it all got isolated and alone, we didn't trip. We were like, okay, like, we've been training for this. We're here now. It's opening up. And so we've come together. So we're a lot brighter at the start of this. My trip is these people are as dull as they
ever were.
It's so much brighter. They seem like they've gotten duller. And I don't think they have. I think they've always been this way. It's just now that we can see them from a mile away because they got a piece of of cloth over their face, and like it's just that the minute you see that, you're
like the line in the sand has been drawn and people are picking their side, so it's easier to spot them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's super easy to.
But then what do you think the sauce is doing then, if it's not doing any of this nano, and it's not doing the fun V, and it's not doing any of the things, it's not doing what Patch says? So what is it? Just, you just think it's just poison, just to population control?
I think it's on the subconscious level. I think they've tapped into everybody's lack of enthusiasm for life, and most people hate life, and most people think this sucks anyhow. So they're like, it's a Western world problem. You look at where all this stuff's getting distributed. It's the Western world, dude, with all the trinkets and all the fancy things. And it's all the people who have like really just reached a point where it's like, okay, so as great as life's going to get, it's going to be me helicopter skiing in British Columbia, or snorkeling in the Caribbean, or banging 50 supermodels, or whatever it is. And so they're like, all right, fine, I'll take this too. And it's like they took it, and it's just like a commitment to like the blasé of it all, like the helplessness. So it's like they finally just committed to their own personal defeat in a weird psychological way. They've just said, I give up, dude. Like, fine. It's a lot of that's mountain.
So you don't think there's any spiritual or physical repercussions?
Absolutely. I think that the spiritual repercussion, I think the spiritual repercussion occurred a long time ago, and they've just committed to that repercussion. I think they're all the people that along the way have turned their back on these things. And now it just showed up where it's like, okay, it's just easier not to look for God anymore. It's just easier to be a part of this.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with you on that. And, it's a friendly, not agreeing, but I'll say this, disagreement, but I'll say that they wouldn't push it so heavily on the whole world if there wasn't something significant to it, more than just affecting people's, like the poisons in the choice. I think the poison is the choice is poison. But
clear, you're talking to a dude who knows that this is a eugenist program.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
No doubt about that. This is the giant culling. But what I'm getting at is the culling occurred a long time ago. They're just implementing what's already happened. The sausage,
I would say the groundwork for it has. I don't think the full. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was fully like stamped and sealed. And this is like the stamp and the seal right here. If you kind of get what I'm saying. Like I think that like it's been a process. And this isn't the beginning of it. I think that like kind of similar to what you're saying is that there was a buildup to this point, but I think that there's definitely significance. Now, am I going to say I believe everything Patch says? I believe everything the girl that talks about the hydras and all that stuff? No, but I think that there's for sure nano involved. I think that there's for sure population control.
Okay, this is, I guess what I'm getting at is this. Like, I fully agree, like on the agreement level. But when we talk about like the electromagnetic harmonics of the human spacesuit and our souls and our heart, we were talking heart, mind, and all that stuff. I go, what if the whole thing is really based upon like, oh, that was just so clear for me a second ago, is based upon like this thing where you've already turned yourself over. So, all right, okay, I got my thought back. So when I was living up on Rainbow Mountain before the fire and all that stuff, I used to be super into the whole, like I would filter the water. I would take it from the filtered water and I'd put it into the to the
reverse osmosis, or
I'd filter it and then I'd put it into the when you the steam it and you turn it the whole thing, and then I'd add the distiller, and then I'd add the secret salts to it and the whole thing and the whole thing. And I remembered there was a moment, And it ties into that stuff about how if you pray over your food, you change the molecular content to it. And if you the thing with the water were the different water crystals based upon
that's what was that guy's name? Masuro Emoto?
Yeah, that dude, all that stuff. So what I think is this is it only works if you're predisposed to that lower frequency snowball.
True.
Right?
I definitely agree with that.
So when it came out, that's what I mean is the people that made their decision, and it's like, so my friend, when we had our babies, he had a baby the same time as I did, and I came from the, like, I'm not participating in any of the sauces because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of God and our decision and this and that. We were talking, and he's like, I did all that to my kid because I'm not afraid of that stuff. And we talked, and I go, the whole point is that we made the decision based upon what we're not afraid of. We went fearless with our decision. So energetically and electromagnetically, like, our energy cast into the system was truly like divine and healthy because there wasn't the lower frequency of fear.
Yeah, and I'll say that I totally agree with you on the frequency of fear and how that, I mean, that's the quickest way to lower your immune system. One of them is to be in fear, and so I think that I believe in, I think the Holy Spirit is more powerful than any physical matter, and when you're in tune with the Spirit of God, it is above and is more powerful than any physical part of reality. So if you are by faith walking in love and not in the fear frequency, you will not be affected by anything. I don't think you need like any external device or truthfully, if you had no money and you couldn't buy any type of, you like you said, you bless the food and the power of God because people forgot about the divine. When you have that connection with the divine, you can override any physical poison, anything that's gonna anything that's gonna be aggressive towards your body, anything like that. So I do agree with you on that.
Well, but on your thing about flipping the switch, so imagine you're a person that's operating of fear, whether it be fear of social circles, fear of coercion, fear of losing your job, fear of this, fear of that. And then you take said product into your body. Then I think that's exactly what you're talking about in that sense of the switch getting flipped on people, is because they were already vibrating in a harmonic
low frequency, right?
See, which the stuff would be dependent upon if you bump into the Anthony patch and all that stuff. Like, I think the switch, that's what I meant about the switch got flipped a long time ago, was with the great pre-game footwork is you already had to be susceptible to the fear thing, which was even the reason you would participate in their thing on any
in the first place.
Yeah, right. And so you like the thing that they're gonna flip on some big thing from the sky to turn.
Yeah, no, that sounded straight out of like a sci-fi movie, and I was just, it's entertaining, and it's not in a good way, but it is like an entertaining thing. Like, wow, like, okay. But that's pretty insane.
I think it's that thing as you put this questionable product in your body from a fear perspective, and I think the fear of health malfunction in your body is less crazy than fear of social norms or fear of employment or fear of that kind of stuff. I would say that fear of employment and social norms is so much more toxic than you being like a dude who's like in a comorbidity state, like, I got to protect my body. I think there's a different level of fear that's going on here in different levels. And the people that are choosing this out of fear of their pockets and fear of their friends are ultimately vibrating at such a toxic low frequency level that they have flipped the switch into the willingness to be a serf. And They don't need to flip on anything.
I get what you're saying. They've already signed up for the the surf membership, and they're.
I think the flip,
right.
Gonna flip is at a certain point they're just gonna that when all these things do come online, it's just gonna de-evolve the molecular, the cellular structure on the human level, like at an exponentially quicker rate. So we're people like us, if we take care of ourselves, like have a different trajectory into the future. I think that they're gonna flip on the thing, and we're patching some of these this things go is like there's gonna be suddenly they're gonna flip up a switch, and there's just gonna be bodies are gonna hit the floor. I think's insanity. Where I think they do is they're gonna flip on they're flipping on the switches, and it's just gonna take someone who had, was going to naturally like expire under the fallen state at 75 now is cooked out at 32.
I don't know. I do think that the frequency targeting, like they could shut that shit. I don't know. That's me, bro. That's me. But I think they can target certain. They want a city to people to start dropping. They can hit the. Well, I think that's connected to the 5G and I don't know if I can say that, but you know what I mean. I think it's connected to those towers, and it can triangulate people and stuff. Like I think that's probably true.
Yeah, no, I think it's all of the above. I think they're going to come in and select.
But when they hit that, like let's say theoretically or whatever, if that happens, then that would be the last. If people start, if you really see people start dropping, then you would know that's the end game right there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well, I think what they're gonna do is
because then they would come in heavy. Because my whole thing is they're gonna get everybody to take it. Then when they want to, they're gonna do what they whatever frequency they do to tap into that to the people that have it.
Building all the weird camps because like that's right again where I always.
Because you didn't really see it, like you thought you would, like, like I said before, when I thought it was going to go down, I thought it was going to be like the Black Plague. You're going to see people, in line at Walmart falling over, and they're going to have people wheelbarrowing them down the street, and the ambulance is going to be coming down the street every 10 minutes, and it's just going to be like, right. Like that's what I was, thinking, and it never was like that. You hear about some people with pre-existing conditions, things like that, but you didn't really see like. You didn't see like you thought you would have, the way they were painting it, like a real Black Plague scenario. You know what I mean? And but if you ever do see it like that, then they would have all the power they needed, and everybody would believe it. Nobody could argue with them, and they would just shut it down for real. The camps would be activated. You know what I mean? Like, but again, that's I like to think optimistic. I like to think positive. But I'm just saying, like, if it goes that way, then that would give them enough, because that's what I think. Because the reason they keep pushing the variants is they're going to say that it's just another variant, but it's going to be, and then that, people need to keep getting them, and, that's, but the people who already have that. And then also, like, I think that the, a lot of it's frequency warfare, again, I know we're saying we don't trust statistics, but, they say, you're anywhere from 45 to 75% water. We're bioelectric beings. You know what I mean? A heart is actually, I think 60 or 70% water. You know what I mean? Our brains are like, there's a lot of water in our brains. You know what I mean? So I think that they, we don't realize how easily they can manipulate the body. You know what I mean? Through frequency.
Oh, no, I'm with you 100%. I think they're doing it all the time. I
agree with you, bro. I don't think this is the, this has been going on for a long time. And honestly, I think the people who get the flu, for the flus every year or whatever, I think there's something in that. I think that people have been,
you can look back in public domain documents about when they were spraying stuff over San Francisco out of helicopters to track
up aerosol, as you always say.
They've been doing all sorts of experiments the whole time.
Yeah.
What I think's interesting is I think where we need to ultimately be like, you know what? Exclude us. I'm not against the exclusion thing anymore. I'm like fully like, no, dude, bring your like segregation in, because from what I can tell, why they didn't do it, why they changed course real quick in Austria was because they're like, wait a minute, if we exclude the unsauced from society and keep them home. And the only people moving around out here are the sauced. We know that the people at home are going to be fun. So in a weird part of me, I think to get the narrative to the next thing is like, do it already.
Right.
And you guys will fish out, because just the way that works is the way it looks like from the numbers and how it's the leakiness and all the stuff is like, no, you guys have joined your weird cult. Do it. Go do it to yourselves, dude. In fact, exclude me, dude. I'm good. Thank you very much. Because I don't want to be part of their weird world. Like, I'm good.
And I do believe in divine protection from, our Heavenly Father and our Creator. That's something you can never count out. That's the most important, actually, is that, when you're walking with God, you're keeping your heart in love. You know what I mean? And nobody's perfect. We all have bad days. We all get frustrated and angry. That's just part of being, in this crazy world. But I think that, ultimately, if you are trying to walk after the Lord, He will protect you. And I think that, it's spiritual protection is the most important. But it's also good to take care of your body, eat healthy, be mindful. I take lots of supplements, spirulina, Corella, whatever. That stuff's good because that takes the heavy metals out of your brain. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They did tests on mice. So, I mean, you know what I mean? There's things that are definitely good to take. I take coral calcium. I take, I like the ashwagandha, L-theanine, things like that to keep yourself kind of calm. But ultimately, you can never get peace aside from going to God. In my experience, you can't get true peace. You can get temporal peace from like supplements and stuff, but when you're walking with the Lord, you know what I mean? And there's just something that the peace that surpasses all understandings.
Well, let's do this, because I think we've been going at it pretty hard, and I got to go do some stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us out with with the prayer or something, and to wrap it up and put us in that space as we go out the door, and we'll do this again, brother. Like,
oh yeah, I'm down, man.
Talk for
hours. I love it, man. I love it. It's real. We build on each other, and even when we disagree, we still are learning. You know what I mean? That's good.
That's what I've always found is we're supposed to disagree, and that's where the
iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. Let me lead us out in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for Ham and all the high frequency tribe. I thank you for this opportunity, and we love you. We all come from different walks of life, but we all try to come together in love. And through the power of your Son, we just ask for you to protect us. Through Christ, just watch over us and give us the strength for the days ahead. Give us the power to make the right decision and the wisdom to follow through with it. And we love you and we thank you. And just peace and blessings upon all of us. And in your Son's name, amen.
Amen. Antonia, thank you for coming on tonight and sharing some time with me and for the tribe. And tomorrow night, 6:30, Riding the Skate Tricks, we're having our first guest on, Josh Harmony, and we're going to get into it about solutions and standing in your truth and all of that kind of good stuff. So, my brother, be safe and keep reading, man.
Hey, will do, man. God bless.
God bless. Good night.